What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar, and today I'm very excited to talk about something, and that is we're going to look at basically what BT-21's kind of doing right now. It is the first kind of weekend, so it's only, I call this week 0. So on week 0, which is basically only 3 days, we have at least some new decks to talk about. So without further ado, let's dive in the video and talk about it. So guys, if you want to help support the channel with no extra cost, please use the affiliate link down below. It costs you nothing to support the channel, and it's just a great way of doing it while you're checking out cards that you are always ready going to be paying for. So without further ado, let's get into it. So if you guys know, I try to pull as much data from locations that we can. So Digital Gate Open is a great resource, followed by Digimon CG Guide, which kind of gives you a good analysis for like China and US, and well, China and Japan, so it'll be good for information there. But also another option is none other than Digimon Card Meta. So they're all great resources, so this will bring great information and great tools for the players, and I really think that's what we kind of need, is get the most information as fast as possible, right? So first off, Armor Rush is a deck that has seemed to come back in spades. Even though there was some hits to the deck in general, the new Armor Digi-Evolution is something to actually think about here. So if you really think about this card in general, this card lets you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 card with Davis in its name, 1 card with free trade among them, trash the rest, and place this card in the battle area. This is a basically, you know, mem boost that you kind of needed for this deck. Being able to, you know, digivolve into a Digimon with armor form traits in your hand without paying its cost is huge. I think this is very much an important card that'll be used from time to time. Just being able to get back into an armor if you got it trashed is monumentally strong. You know, they also have the new Flame Dramon, the RideMyAvatar. You know, RideMyAvatar got a facelift, basically combining what it was, basically its old form with some new effects, which is really solid. You know, the new Magna's nothing to scoff at it either. So at the end of the day, this deck has a lot going for it and becoming this very powerful aggro strat again, which players are excited to have back. Now, Three Musketeers is another deck that's starting to pop in as well. The new Eximon cards actually help the deck in a way that a lot of players weren't expecting to, but now the deck has a lot more going for it because, again, this was a wave of support that we weren't expecting for it. Like, I was expecting maybe these would appear maybe in a few more sets, but getting it this early means that this deck probably has a little bit more strength to go on, and this information is coming from Eagle Nest Gaming. So check out their events. They host every Monday, and I think they host every Thursday, if I remember correctly, Monday and Thursday, or is it Monday, Wednesday? But they have Sunday events as well from time to time, bigger events. So something to think about just going into this. Now, again, another big winner was Purple Hybrid, introducing new cards into the list, which is first off, the new Arrestramon comes in clutch for superior mode because it's got Raid and Piercing, but this Digimon may attack without suspending. This Digimon gets plus 1000 DP for each of its Digilusion cards, making him bigger and bulkier to deal with as long as you have sources. And if your opponent can't strip the sources, it just stays really well. You know, also to think about is that they comboed in with Mimi. If you're going to have a lot of these options anyway, Mimi being able to activate and extend your plays, especially on one Jack Raid, now means that, you know, that 10 cards in trash now becomes, you know, if 2 Mimis are on board, you get at least some decent value, to be honest with you. And what do I mean by decent value? You'll basically get, you know, Jack Raid for 3 for this one-time use, which is not terrible. Again, this deck is becoming like the biggest one-of series, as you can see. But the big thing is they did tech in the new Galactic, which again, for a lot of players, because this deck likes to self-mill, basically when this Digimon would play, if there's a Digimon with 13,000 DP, reduce the play cost by 2 for every 5 total cards in both players' trash. So this thing gets smaller and smaller to play, and this thing is just ridiculous, where it's on play when Digivolving, delete 1 Digimon with 13,000 DP or more. This effect didn't delete recovery 1. You know, just getting some great value out of it. I think this actually added into what Purple Hybrid kind of needed, was some way of recovering some of their life if, you know, it resulted in some great value. So having the Gammon in here is nothing to scoff at. Now, Adventures did take a first place win at TCG Shuffle. And again, a lot of players are probably wondering how to build this deck, and this is probably going to be the basis. A lot of players will probably play the War Greymon Ace with the new promo War Greymon just because of how powerful the promo is. You know, being able to get bigger depending on each color Digimon and Tamer you have, and delete one of your opponent's Digimon with as much DP or as much or less DP as this Digimon. Really useful tool, being able to apply pressure, and because you're playing all these different color Tamers, you just get some great value across the board. And I do like that they're using Our Courage United as an option, because being able to, you know, there's 2 versions, but, you know, this is all just great stuff. So, draw 2. This one's your Searcher. So, yeah, you just got some great value across the board with this deck. Now, for the players that have been really wanting to build Gammon and they asked me to see the list, I promised you guys we would take a look at it. So they are playing, you know, 4 RB1 Gammon. They're playing LM's Gammon at 3. They're playing 1 Boko. They're playing, you know, BT-8's Gammon at 2. They're also playing this Gammon at a whopping 3 of. Then you have Gauss Gammon as an uncommon from RB01. They are playing 2 of the BTL Gammon from the new set. They're playing, you know, Gauss Gammon BT-21. They are playing 3 of the Kanos Wiseman RB01 rare. They're also playing LM-017 super rare. They're also playing, you know, BT-21s, Kanos Wiseman. Again, this deck likes to use all its inheritables in great value, which is kind of great for this deck in general, just having all their abilities be live throughout the whole stack, giving it its own kind of feel. It was kind of what Mugen was trying to do, but instead of you worrying about all the inheritables, you kind of just got all their on-play skills plus their inheritables to boot. So it really does add up, and the deck has a lot going for it. You know, you got to make sure you get the RB01 promo hero. You got to make sure you have the BT-8 hero. You're going to have BT-21 hero. And this, the Strongest Brothers, is what this deck needed for a bit. Because again, a lot of the issues come down to is the deck just didn't have a great way of searching out its pieces. And without a memory boost of some sort to be able to search, this deck was kind of slowed down. But now with the Strongest Brothers being an option and being able to when an effect places a Digimon, you can delay hand without paying its cost. Being able to skip evolution is huge. Again, a lot of decks can get free evolution, and this is just how it goes. If you're gonna just kind of try to slow events down, you don't print these kind of cards. But I think having access to like even Seriousmon, which is a security +1, and Raid is going to be great. I mean, even teching this in, you just have great across the board with like Paroxymon as well. So again, if you've been a Gammon player that's been waiting for so long to actually dust off your deck and actually do something in locals, I think this is your good starting point. So take a look at this long-term wise and take advantage of it. Now, for the Crossart players, a lot of players have been wondering what they've been doing with the list. So, you know, they kind of took what basically EX6 was, which is a very powerful deck in general, teched in BT-21 for that added rush, but you may play 1 Crossart Blue Flare or Hero, trade it from your hand without paying its cost, reduce it by 5. If you did, delete this Digimon for the end of attack, so which you get the on deletion, you get to, you know, save 1, do that whole shenanigans what this deck likes to do with its Omni Shouts. You know, this is just really great targeting because one's going to give rush, this one gives rush. You know, they all kind of give rush. You're going to be playing everything that kind of gives rush in some sort of capacity, right? So now with so many rush targets, you're in a good spot. Players might be actually dusting off their king versions to play this deck. This card, Volder Arm, is really powerful. And again, this superior mode is a great option, no lie. So taking a look though, you do have access to like Taiki, you got Mikey, Taiki, you know, and Taiki super rares to boot. So this deck has a lot going for it. Even BT-21's You know, Shoutmon DX is a great target, just being able to delete one of your opponent's lowest DP. When this Digimon would leave the battle area, you may place up to 4 Crossart traded cards from the Siege Evolution under one of your Tamers. Kind of interesting, you know, from its Digi-Evolutions. Kind of cool. Omni-Shout and Zeeg. So, yeah, it can kind of work if you Digivolve up. You can... I like that, too. Digivolve Z costs 2, level 4 cross with a level 5 cross trait. So, yeah, there's possibilities how this deck can play, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they build going forwards. Again, Crossart players, you definitely have some good... Out of 23 players, by the way. That's really a lot going for it. Now, you do have Galactic Bond kind of doing some things as well. So, this took 6th place in Korea, with first place in Korea out of 6 rounds, which is huge turnout, which means it's probably at least 24 players. So that's something to think about. The new Zeniths, you know, Destromon at 3 seems to be the play. Nobody's playing the secret Galactic Bond. It's just straight up play this one and play 3 Ragnarok, you know, Cannon. You know, this is going to be really solid to see where they kind of go with it. You got Venmons up for here, 4, 8, 9 Venmons, and then 4 of each new one. You're playing at least 8 Snatchmons, which I kind of figured that's where you're going to go with it. You're going to be playing at least 8 Snatch. So, and playing Youth to kind of search out your pieces and fill your trash. Now again, Eximon is another deck that a lot of players are going to be leaning to as well, because the new Eximon X Antibody definitely combos in really nice with their Eximon that well, but they're also playing a full playset of Jade and 3 of the Wisteria memory boost, which isn't bad, to be honest with you, because it hits every single card in your deck. Because you'll always hit the blue targets no matter what, and then worst case you'll find the corresponding like red, or you know, their corresponding green. So you'll always have this live, which is very important, and then Davis can just fetch you what you need. Now, again, another one that players were asking about was the Emperor Greymon, which I made a post about. They're playing, you know, Wind to Fire, Ice to Sword. They are playing the Ancient Protectors, but they're not really playing the new cards except for, you know, the Takuya Super Rare, which is very powerful. You know, you do have the Emperor Greymon promo as a one-of, which, again, a lot of players might be really hyped for. You know, you do have Burning Greymon at 2, and then you got 3 of the Aguni of the new set, because they do combo extremely well with the new Emperor Greymon, which you kind of want to be doing. So, yeah, just pretty solid. Now, again, I wasn't really expecting someone to top with Fish Hexa Gammon, but it's something to just take a look at if players want to just be Gammon and Hexa blowing their opponent in the face. Just blue being blue. Now, again, we have Terriermon doing some shenanigans as well that I noticed. You know, if Terriermon can do well, I think Medieval helps out, and then you just deal with threats with your X antibody, you know, Rapidmon X, and then you have Magna Garurumon Ace to kind of just clean things up. And then Shine of a Bee is just overkill in my opinion, but hey, if it works for you guys, you work and play it. Now, here's another list that's going to be quite interesting to see where this thing does well long-term wise. I'm kind of excited. They're using the new promo Galamon, which we talked about earlier, just being able to get Rush and Blocker. But the fact that the Megidramon kind of just self-kills itself for an on-deletion, play a cost 3 or lower card with Guillemon or Growlmon in its name from trash without paying its cost. For every 10 total cards in both players' trash, add up to 2 with this effect's play cost. So you can keep climbing, you know, add 2 to maximum play cost. So the more trash gets filled up, which you're going to see this go long-term wise. You know, War Growl here is the new one that you want to be playing. So this thing's on play when Digivolving, trash the top 2 cards of your deck when this Digimon gains raid and retail until the end of opponent's turn. So most likely you're not going to get this effect off, really, the retail, but the raid's going to help out. But this Digimon may Digivolve into a Digimon with Megidramon or Chaosdramon in its name in your hand. For every 10 cards in both players' trash, reduce the Digivolution cost by 1. So what you're going to be kind of doing is leapfrogging between War Growl, Megidra, set yourself up. If you can get your turn back, which, again, this card basically, you know, when one of your Digimon with Guillemon or Growlmon in its name may digivolve into a Grammon, Galactic or Megidron in its name and trash without paying its cost. So when effect deletes Digimon. So since Megidron's going to self-pop, play the War Growl, you can get right into this Galactic with Rush immediately after, and then basically you can just blitz the daylights out of them, and also gain raid effects. So your opponent's just going to have a bad day regardless of the situation. You're just applying a lot of aggression to your opponent's face, and it's going to be funny, especially because the Digimon with its on deletion is going to be really solid. This is a deck I'm going to actually try out, so let's see how this one does. So hopefully, guys, you enjoyed the video. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.